The biggest lie in government contracting is this belief that you need a nonprofit to get paid. That's not true. I built an AI program that landed me 2 contracts totaling almost $100,000 for less than 2 months worth of work. And in this video, I'm going to show you how I did it. But first, I want to start by saying that every workforce plan is not created equal. See, on paper, workforce dollars exist to help low-income people with barriers, to help them move towards self-sufficiency. But in practice, the way these systems are designed, the way they approve and are administered produces very different outcomes. So the outcomes you might see in Texas might not be the same you'll see in Mississippi, New York, or Washington, D.C. Because here's the truth most people won't say. There are gatekeepers inside these systems who are deeply uncomfortable with poor people winning, especially when those poor people are African American, entrepreneurial, and dependent on the traditional pipelines. See, they won't say it out loud, they won't write it down, ever, and they will never admit it, but they will enforce it quietly through approval processes that favor large institutions over newly formed organizations. And that's why I created this channel, so that I could give insider knowledge, insider access to you, so that you can get into these systems and make the change that our community so desperately needs to not be left behind, particularly in this AI gold rush. See, they enforce it quietly through approval processes that favor large institutions over newly formed ones. They enforce it through system requirements that only large institutions can realistically meet. And they enforce it through the credential preferences designed around institutions that already have access and infrastructure. So what looks neutral on the surface ends up producing the same unequal outcome. See, what they do is they'll crowd the eligible training providers list, or the ETPL, with large institutions, established colleges, large training companies, all offering what they call in-demand occupations like cybersecurity, hospitality, certified nursing assistant programs, and phlebotomy. Also CDL programs. And don't get me wrong, these jobs matter. God knows they do. But let's tell the truth. The ETPL in most states is not innovative. It's like repetitive. It's safe, and it reflects who already has power, not what's actually emerging in the market. So let me break this down very, very plainly. Here is exactly what I did, step by step, to access $100,000 in contracts for an AI program. Step 1, I developed the program. This was not just an AI idea. I didn't start with asking ChatGPT to create a program for me. It doesn't work like that, because AI only enhances what you put into it. I started with clarity, with understanding, because I knew, 1, who the program was created for, 2, what problems they were facing, and 3, what skills will actually move them forward. I asked myself, where are they now before this program? Where are they? And then what do they need to learn while in my program? Then, what can they do now that they couldn't do before? That's programming. And I wrote a summer program designed to create marketing mavens and scroll stoppers using AI skills. See, inside the program, there were specific skills that I would teach. There were specific platforms that they would learn, and there was very specific outcomes that was tied to the funding and reporting. See, that was real. It wasn't aspirational. It was pure execution. So now, here's where location matters most. See, I lived in a metro city that actually thinks outside the box. They are constantly looking for innovative vendors, non-traditional programs, and cutting-edge skills. See, now that's where AI entered the picture. I learned about AI through AI Cash School. Quita LaShawn was posting on YouTube, and I believe she has one of the largest AI Cash schools that's teaching AI skills. What I learned in one day was so fascinating that I immediately booked a call to get up to speed on the platforms that I needed in order to write this program up. So yes, I invested quickly. I did not overthink it. I was brand new to AI, less than 2 weeks in when I wrote the summer program and submitted it. The program was new, but the process was not. Which brings me to step number 2. I submitted it the way the system wanted it. You've got to understand the system that you're going into and what does success look like in that system. So I submitted this particular AI program under the Summer Youth Workforce Program. So if you live in a large metro city, they often run these programs to, one, give their youth their first job experience, two, to keep them productively employed, and three, to reduce summer crime. Now, here is a hideous truth. Some cities that benefit from crime don't prioritize these programs. So you may not have a summer youth program in your local area, but that doesn't mean you don't advocate for one. Now, that is another conversation for another day. But here is where most people mess up. See, I didn't submit a vision. I submitted a structured program. That meant that my program had clear learning objectives. That meant that my program had tools that tied directly to the budget. And that meant that my program had a problem and had an adequate solution that matched. I explained, here's the problem that this demographic is facing. And here's why these skills matter right now. And here is what the participants will be able to do at the end of the program. See, when you understand how the system thinks, this part isn't hard. AI didn't make the program fundable. It was the structure. AI simply accelerated what was already there, the documentation, the delivery, the measurement. And yes, there was a final report that had to prove that it worked. But that was at the end. That was after I already got the yes. And that brings me to step number 3, the biggest step. I partnered instead of waiting. Now, here's the truth people don't talk about, and the gatekeepers are definitely not sharing this information. And it means everything. If you look at the ETPL requirement, most of you won't even meet it. I didn't meet the ETPL requirements. So I had a choice. I could stop, I could wait, I could try. It would take me a couple of years. I could complain, or I could partner. I found an organization already on the ETPL list. They became the primary contractor to this program. They handled the compliance. They received an administrative fee for their work because they are taking on the risk. And I delivered the program as a subcontractor. I executed, I got paid for what I do best, and that was create programs and also facilitate training with the kids, whom I love very much. That was not cheating the system, that was just understanding it. And this is where most people get burned. See, not every partnership is safe. If you don't know how to properly position your program, define your role, protect your intellectual property, a partner can just cold jack your program, take it, rebrand it, and offer it as their own. Cut you completely out, and this is not what you want. And the system will allow it because you didn't structure the relationship correctly. This is why program choice matters. You don't just bring an idea. You bring a defined curriculum. You bring a documented outcome. And you bring a delivery method that cannot be replicated without you. See, your program has to have that special something that needs you in order to run it. Now that's strategy, that's protection, and that is how you leverage your intellectual property in these programs. Now here's what that actually looked like. $50,000 for 1 week and $42,500 for 6 weeks. That is $92,500. Not bad for 7 weeks of work. Now let's think. That's more money than some people make in a year. And this is exactly what I teach inside AI Contract School. It is not how to go chase grants. It is not how to go viral, but how to turn your vision into a program. Then how to turn that program into a contract. And then put that contract on step and repeat using AI as the accelerator. If you have an idea just sitting on a shelf, if you know you were created to help people, but you don't know how to package it, or if you want to operate inside Workforce System as a vendor, click the link in the description, because the goal is not just to get inside the system. The goal is to stay paid, stay protected, and stay positioned for your next contract. So let's recap, because this is very important and I want to make sure you didn't miss anything. So what did I do? Step 1, I wrote and designed, developed a real program with a clear audience, a clear problem, one solution, one outcome. Step 2, I submitted that program the way the system wants programs submitted, with learning objectives, tools tied to the budget, and outcomes that they could track. And then step number 3, because I didn't meet the ETPL requirements, I partnered strategically with an approved organization that was already on the list. A clear role, protected IP, and a fee structure that actually made sense. That's it. I didn't need a nonprofit. I wasn't begging for money, and I wasn't waiting and asking permission. Just one program that the system could purchase. And in this case, I helped the system purchase it through someone that it was already purchasing services through. See, I believe God gives vision to the visionary, but it is our job to construct the blueprint. Once you learn how to think like a programmer, you'll stop asking permission. And worse, you'll stop watching your vision just sit on the shelves. I don't know about you, but it is time to get paid for what you know. But more importantly, it is time for those with real solutions to begin accessing these systems for the better sake of our communities. If this was helpful, I need you to like, subscribe, share, and turn on your notifications so you can learn how to make your program fundable.